All right, next up on the show is Mike Marlow, an expert inspector and the owner of Veteran Home Inspections here in San Antonio. Mike, welcome back to the show, as always.
Yeah, it's always fun to be here.
Good to have you, and you might want to bring your mic a little closer to you. Okay. All right, so home inspections for rural properties. Until you brought this up to me, I had never really even considered it. It's like, okay, well, I would just assume they would all be kind of the same, but they're not. They're completely, or there's some major differences.
Right. The house itself, normally that part of it's fairly normal. It's all the other associated systems with living out in the country that you need to get taken care of and inspected.
So give me an example of what we're talking about.
We're talking septic systems, wells. You can have multiple outbuildings, things like that.
Okay. So you need to have some experience probably with doing
You
this?
definitely need to know what you're doing. If you're going to be inspecting them, you need to know the systems, have the certifications, that kind of thing.
Right. You need to know what to look for.
Yeah, because we do a lot of rural property inspections, and there is some very creative engineering going on with some of these systems, to put it nicely.
I'll bet.
And you have to sit there and be able to figure out, okay, what's going on here? Is it functional, or is it just, baling wire and duct tape put together?
Barely hanging on.
We have seen.
So let's start with wells. So what are you looking for there?
The biggest thing we're going to do with wells is we're going to test the water quality. We're going to inspect the top side of the well and make sure that it is functioning. We're not going to be pulling the well pumps or anything like that, which is the pump that's down at the bottom of the well shaft. It could be 300-400. I've had them up to 1,200 feet deep.
Oh wow!
So we're definitely not going to be pulling that out. That is a separate license. You need to get a well driller out there to do that. But we're going to make sure that it is working, and that the water is potable.
Okay, so what are you looking for when it comes to you doing mineral testing?
Yeah, so the big things that we test for on a normal test are going to be lead, nitrates and nitrates, which is from fertilizer runoff, and bacteria.
Okay.
So the most common problem we run into is the bacteria. Something gets into your well and dies, and now your well's contaminated. And it's an easy fix, but it can also make you pretty sick if you don't get it fixed.
For sure.
So you say it's an easy fix. What is the fix if a dead animal's in there?
Basically chlorinating the well and then running off the chlorine.
Like shock. They call it a
Yes.
shock treatment or something, right?
Yeah. Yep. It takes a couple days to get it done right, but it's an easy fix. You should be testing the bacteria in your well, or testing for bacteria in your well annually, or if you have work where they've opened up the well, then you should test after that to make sure it didn't get contaminated.
So if the mineral test comes back bad, what's to be done there?
It depends on what's going on. So if it's nitrates, that's coming from the groundwater most of the time. It's coming from the groundwater. So filters systems is what you're going to do there.
Okay.
Lead, almost every time we've had lead come back in the water, it's from the plumbing in the house.
Oh, okay.
So we've had straight up, it's lead pipes from back in the early 1900s. To up to the 80s, they were using solder on copper pipes that still had lead in it. And we've even had, just recently we had one where it was a brand new kitchen faucet that had lead in it. So changed out the faucet, lead problem went away.
Interesting.
But you just need to know that it's there to be able to start hunting for it.
Okay, so you let them know, hey, it's here, and then you leave it up to the plumber to go find it, or what?
We can do some more testing to, kind of narrow it down to, is it right at the faucet, or is it in the pipes, or is it, in the well? So
Gotcha.
we just take different samples after running different periods of time so that we, okay, now we're getting water that's been sitting in this part of the well. So.
All right, so let's talk about the septic system. So when you inspect a septic system, what are you looking for?
Well, we're looking to make sure it's functioning. So we're going to actually open up the septic system. We're going to check does it need to be pumped? Has it been, one of those where the homeowner just, thought it was a magic hole in the ground and hasn't done anything to it for 20 years? All the time we see this, and it's top to bottom is solids. Okay, we need to get that pumped out and cleaned out. Or is it running good now? Is there anything inside that's broken? Has the concrete tank started to deteriorate? Things like that. That's what we're looking for. A lot of people ask us for a dye test, and that is absolutely useless with inspecting septics. I've personally, on houses I bought where I knew the septic was failing, just run a dye test just to see, and it passed the dye test, but the septic tank had to be completely replaced. So,
how often should people get their septic system pumped?
I always tell them every time the politicians start talking all their stuff that time to pump, so about every 4 years.
That's a good.
It's a great reminder to. But it depends on how many people are in your house, how you treat the septic system. If you have a garbage disposal and you run everything down the garbage disposal, it's probably going to need to be pumped more often. If you only put down there what's supposed to be down there, then you can probably get away with 4 years. That's with a traditional anaerobic septic system. If you have an aerobic system, those do need more frequent maintenance. About every 3 to 4 months, you need to check and make sure it's still got the chlorine in it that it uses to pre-treat before the sprayers go off and things like that.
I think I appreciate being on a city system. I don't have to mess with all that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm already like, I would have probably
we're
forgot.
on septic, and it's really no big deal once you're used to it. So
I have one house with it and one house without it. So.
yeah.
All right, and real quick, because we're almost out of time, but what about the propane tank?
Propane tanks, it's really just checking to make sure that you have your clearances between your tank and your house, that the tank's in decent condition and not all rusted out. We're also going to make sure that the appliances that are running on propane are actually converted over to propane instead of still set up for natural gas, because they do burn differently. So that's the biggest things that you really have to watch out for on propane.
I don't even know the difference between propane and natural gas. We can't get into it, but that's
It's a different tank.
I feel stupid now. I do.
No.
Keep in mind, too, that most of these inspections he's talking about when you're out there are required for most of the loan programs, too.
Yes.
Well and septic.
Nice. But it's always important to find somebody who knows what they're doing when they're doing the inspection, so they know what to look for.
Right.
All right, Mike, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
Okay, our website is vhillc.com, and our phone number is 210-202-1974.
All right, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.